Of course, everyone knows about Harrison Ford. He has played parts that have had an impact on almost 70% of all men in some way. He is like a culture museum. Other parts he has played are Han Solo and Indiana Jones. Now he is back with the Red Hulk. Even though his life off screen has been just as exciting as it is on screen, Ford has never talked about his relationships. He's 82 years old now, so maybe it's old age or he just can't take it any longer. Many people were shocked when he just recently talked about his past marriages and told the truth about yours. What is the truth about his relationship? Why is he now telling us this? Watch the whole video to find out. We all want to know little things about our favorite people, and in this day and age, we can find out everything about their lives at any time. In the past, that wasn't true, and they would die trying. All they could get was a sneak peek every 6 months, but it was worth the wait for them. Harrison Ford went through the same thing. In fact, it was even worse for him. He never told anyone what he was doing. People could only get a glimpse of Han Solo when his pictures came out. Other than that, he was just a ghost. Today, we're going to tell you everything you need to know about Harrison's life. And to be honest, he's not who you think he is. Get ready to be shocked by Harrison Ford's awful and hidden life. Ford was born in Chicago, Illinois on July 13, 1942. Ford was raised in a family with ties to the show business. Dorothy was his mother, and she was an Ashkenazi Jewish radio actress. John William Christopher Ford, his father, was an Irish Catholic singer who later became an advertising executive. This doesn't mean he had a lot of religion issues as a child, as you might think. His parents both worked very hard to raise him well. But it might have been too strict because he didn't say whether he was Jewish or Catholic when asked about his religious training. He answered with a snarky Democrat, which showed that he valued a liberal view of the world over strict religious observance. A lot of people think Ford was a bad kid, but that's not at all true. Ford was actually a Boy Scout who worked hard and made it to the rank of Life Scout. Some people think that his time as a Boy Scout influenced him to play the young Indiana Jones in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. As a helper at a scout camp, he met people who shared his love of animals and the outdoors. Ford became very famous at Maine East High School, and it wasn't because of how good-looking or stylish he was. People liked him because of his rough voice. The first show on the school's new radio station used his voice. He was also the first person to call games at the school. The first thing he did to start working in show business was this. His love for the performing arts grew at Ripon College in Wisconsin, where he studied philosophy and joined the Sigma Nu fraternity. It might surprise you to learn that Ford was still shy even after all of these fun things. In order to get out of his comfort zone, he took a theater class as a senior to get over his stage fright. He was shocked to discover that he loved playing. He didn't wait a second longer than necessary and signed up for summer stock theater with the Belfry Players in Wisconsin in 1964. It was there that he decided to become an actor full-time and went to Los Angeles. Ford got his start in Hollywood with a small deal through Columbia Pictures' talent program. In 1966, he played a quiet bellhop in Dead Heat on a Merry-Go-Round, which was his first role. It's crazy that a famous actor like him had to deal with bias in the beginning of his career when a director said bad things about his work by comparing him to Tony Curtis. Ford, on the other hand, wasn't a pushover. He showed that by saying a good actor could play a bellboy. His contract was supposedly canceled because of this. Ford didn't feel like his world had fallen apart like most people would. He took it like a man and didn't seem too upset about it. He knew that a place didn't respect him if it didn't see how valuable he was. So he played small parts in movies like Journey to Shiloh, 1968, Getting Straight, 1973, and American Graffiti 1973. In the play American Graffiti, he met the man who gave him money, George Lucas. In case you don't know, Lucas was a director whose work would change for the better or worse. Let's find out. Star Wars cast Ford as Han Solo in 1977 after he found him in a trash heap. Han was moved by his portrayal of the shady, smooth-talking runner. Many fans see Han Solo as a god because he was such a fan favorite in the first three movies. They think that he is the one who made Star Wars such a devoted series. Ford also made it to the major leagues at this point, which was the start of his rise to fame. We all love Indiana Jones, who played by Harrison Ford in Raiders of the Lost Ark in 1981, thanks in large part to this success. Steven Spielberg directed this movie. He chose Ford for the famous part because he thought she would be good at it. Do you believe that's all? Did he stop there? He didn't, though. In addition to these big hits, Ford had parts in Blade Runner 1982, The Fugitive 1993, and Witness 1985, the last of which won him an Oscar nomination. But that wasn't the movie that made him famous. The character he played in 4 sequels over the course of his 40-year career is still his best and most famous part. It cemented his place in pop culture. That is, in fact, Han Solo from Star Wars. Ford became a huge star after playing Indiana Jones in Raiders of the Lost Ark 981, which is still the most popular movie about a wild archaeologist. Like Han Solo, Indiana Jones became a popular icon, and Ford went on to star in 4 more Indiana Jones movies. Besides these famous works of pop culture, Ford played Rick Deckard in Blade Runner 1982 and returned for the 2017 remake Blade Runner 2049. Being stuck in a certain genre is a problem that many artists have to deal with. Of course, Ford didn't care about this because he never let his age stop him. He didn't only play serious and action parts, he tried his hand at TV by starring in the Western series 1923 and the comedy Shrinking on Apple TV. For someone who is so good at playing, we don't know much about the man himself. He's so great that he's the coolest person in the room even if you don't think about his playing. He's a living legend who should have his own movie. Ford is a qualified pilot who helps people in Wyoming who are in trouble by flying them to safety. Aside from that, he cares about the environment and has been vice chair of Conservation International since 1991. Ford's personal life was just as exciting as his work life. He was a young man from Illinois with a high school sweetheart before he became famous in Hollywood. Because we know you want to know everything about this serial killer, here it is. His love life, his breakups, and even the love of his life. You'll understand why he feels bad when he talks about her after watching this movie. Let's not waste any more time and get right to it. Mary Marquardt was Harrison's high school sweetheart and also worked as a cook and an artist. She stuck by Ford when he was just starting out in Hollywood. They got married in 1964 and had 2 kids, Ben in 1966 and Willard in 1969. While Ford was acting, Mary started a job as a chef, but Ford's overnight success in Star Wars in 1977 made things more difficult. There is a story that their marriage ended in 1979 when Mary found out that Ford was having an affair with one of his co-stars. Who was it? It will be clear soon. People still defend in a mocking way Ford by saying that Han Solo would have been rude to turn down an offer from someone so nice as her, if you get what we mean. In any case, they got a divorce, but they were responsible enough to raise their kids together and watch them become great restaurant and business owners. We don't know everything about Ford's personal life just because he doesn't talk about it a lot. He said in an interview that his affair with Princess Leia, his co-star, wasn't the main reason they were divorcing. This meant that the couple had been having problems for a long time. He felt terrible when his first marriage ended, but he got back up and gave love another chance when he met his second major interest. A lot of people think that this new woman is what led to the first split. Melissa Matheson was her name, and she wrote movies. Ford met Matheson in 1976 on the set of the movie Apocalypse Now, in which Matheson had a small part. Everything was fine, but Harrison was already married to Mary Marquardt. But things started to get better between him and Melissa while they were shooting. At the time, Matheson worked as a production helper, and she later wrote E.T. Being from Another Planet in 1982. In 1982, they started dating, and in 1983, they got married. They got married in Santa Monica in a small, simple service that showed how down-to-earth they were. Melissa wore an easy white dress, and Harrison looked great in his casual clothes. It was lovely how their love story was both romantic and simple. They had 2 kids. Malcolm was born in 1987, and Georgia was born in 1990. Matheson's work as a screenwriter took off, but Ford's fame got the best of him and caused problems. Harrison Ford and Melissa Matheson broke up, and their expensive divorce was one of the most expensive in Hollywood history. It took 3 years to finish because they didn't have a prenuptial agreement when they got married in 2001. Melissa got a deal of $85 million, which included some of Harrison's future gains from movies like The Fugitive and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Many people think that Harrison's affair with actress Lara Flynn Boyle was the main reason for the split, but no one knows for sure. They were seen together a few times, like on a romantic carriage ride in New York City and in a bar sharing a booth. Anyhow, Ford finally met the person who would change his life, the person he calls the love of his life, after 2 divorces. Who is it? Wait until you find out. Before we talk about how good and pure Ford and his love life is, we need to let you know that our boy is not that pure. Ford also had a few other private and tense encounters that he doesn't talk about. What did they look like? Let's learn about them. First, we need to make sure that the sexual tension between Han Solo and Princess Leia, who is notoriously hard to get, wasn't just something that happened on screen. When Han's life was in danger, the princess only told him how she felt. When they weren't on screen, she got right to work. Fisher wrote about their affair in her autobiography, The Princess Diarist. It took place during the first shooting of Star Wars in 1977 and lasted for 3 months. Ford was 33 years old, married, and had 2 kids, while Fisher was 19. Fisher said that their intense desire for each other, their ties, and their dreams all went away quickly when reality hit them hard. During the week, Han and Leia were rebels, and on the weekends, Carrie and Harrison were in love. She really loved Ford and hoped he would leave his wife, but they only slept together for a short time. Before the last few days of shooting, they spent one last night together, and no one knew that their relationship was over. After that, Ford broke up with his wife, but Fisher and Ford never got back together. Fisher told many people about the affair as she got older, but Ford, as usual, never said a word. Before he met Callista Flockhart, Harrison Ford had been through a lot of sadness. He then looked into her eyes and fell in love. Their love story has been like a fairy tale with enough twists and turns to rival an Indiana Jones journey. The first time they met was at the Golden Globes in 2002, where a spilled glass of wine made things awkward and complicated between them. Even though they are 22 years apart in age, they are still together, and Flockhart says it's never been a problem. Ford is still flying planes and pulling off his own stunts, so who has time to keep track of birthdays? She even thinks it's cute that he looks like a dog in the morning, which is probably the best sign of love, since most people look like that before coffee. Ford and Flockhart chose to get married in 2010 after dating for 8 years. In typical Ford style, they kept the wedding very quiet and under the radar. Ford was busy with work on the set of Cowboys and Aliens while they got married in New Mexico. So, who was in charge of the ceremony? The person in charge at the time was their friend Bill Richardson, because when you're Harrison Ford, the government pays for everything, even your wedding. Richardson's wife and advisor and their son Liam were the only people on the guest list, which was about as select as a secret spy mission. Even director Jon Favreau didn't know about it until a long time after the fact, which is likely why he gave Ford a fondue set. They didn't choose to keep things quiet because they wanted to be cool. They did it because they wanted to keep their love story a secret. Ford has been Liam Flockhart's adopted son's father figure. It has been anything but normal. It was like having Han Solo as your dad. He met Liam for the first time when he was only 6 months old. By 2010, he had adopted him. Ford became a father at an older age, but he has welcomed the role with open arms. He has talked about the surprising joy of becoming a parent later in life, showing that even action heroes are good at changing diapers. Their sweet relationship shows how much Ford loves his family, and he's easily slipping into a role he never thought he'd have. But will he be able to handle Liam's temper tantrums when he gets older? We hope that you say yes. One thing that makes Ford and Flockhart's relationship unique is that she supports his love of flying. At first, she wasn't sure about flying, but Ford's interest in it grew on her over time. Over time, flying became a family pastime, and their son also got interested in it. In 2015, though, their love of flying was put to the test when Ford's old World War II plane crashed on a golf course in Los Angeles. Ford was seriously hurt in the crash and had a broken pelvis, but amazingly, he got better. But even after the crash, his wife still fully supported his love of flying. She even said, "I love it because he loves it." Some joke that Flockhart might want the insurance money, but who are we to say? After everything, she never stopped being there for them, though she might have kindly suggested they find a safer hobby. Ford is still very interested in flying, even though he is scared, and Flockhart stays by his side because she knows how important it is to him. Respecting each other and recognizing their differences has always been at the heart of their friendship. They've been to a lot of events together over the years, which shows how close they are. When Ford, who is now 80 years old, looked at Flockhart with such love at the Cannes Film Festival in 2023, fans thought it was a sign from God to start editing photos on Instagram. Ford himself has said that sexual love is one of the best kinds of love, and he is the best example of how you can find it at any age.